Rank P chat is crazy, bro. Okay. I literally just woke up. Let's go. What am I looking at? I think. Let me edit this. Edit the template. Because I'm pretty much always going to be doing. Well, when I start work again, it might change, but I'm going to be doing my workout, showering, and other things in between. What's it called? In this break of the day. All right. Um. Okay, let's get into this. I feel like it's my favorite phrase. Yeah, I just woke up, but we grinded. This isn't like that difficult. I just have to. Starting is the hardest part, kind of. Yeah, let's get into it. So, 5 minutes fast aerialing. What is that gonna look like? Um, I don't know what it's gonna look like. Just start the timer. Into game. Is everything good? Plugged in. Yes, except my controller isn't. That's funky. What is popping? It's just straight up not working. What does that mean? I have no idea. Um. Oh, it's the wrong chord, bro. Oh my gosh. No, the chords look the exact same. No, I was just charging my controller. Oh, okay. That was an accident. Alright, we're good. Alright, I was an idiot for a second, but we're good. Alright, really looking for a lower time today. Trying to hold down for as long as possible in that early aerial stage. Basically all the action happened in like the first half second of jumping. Kind of doing the technique fairly consistently, getting lower and lower times. Really trying to make today kind of like a perfect process day, but like as good as I can make it of a process day. I don't know, is it possible to get more than 5-6 minutes in? Maybe. Or definitely, obviously, if I spam queue, but you would like process and everything. It's a hard maybe. I think so though, as long as I'm doing everything like fairly well. I'm not extending breaks too long. Oh, I forgot about like a certain element, which was just holding X for a longer period. Holy bro, that is so loud. That is so loud. Wait, I don't think you guys can hear timer, but like that was. Why is that so loud? Um, my computer needs to install updates. All right. Schedule the restart. All right, at like AM 4:34 AM. All right. Okay. Um, that's funny. Okay. I tried selecting what's called today to see what happened, but it just doesn't let you. Because obviously AM 4:34 AM has passed. All right. Lowest time I got was 2.191. Pretty sure. Yeah, 2.191. Better than yesterday. I think average was better than yesterday as well. It's getting slightly better at it every single day. I think with that sort of thing, I'm gonna really not really make sure I like skip out on it, but like basically I'm just like as soon as I start stream and like I get my controller working, I'm just gonna start timer. And then however long it takes to get to it, like navigate to free play, is like I'll just take it out at the time that I use for it because it's again not that important of a skill, just to get me started, get me in the door. Helix jump, alright, next thing. Last time I did this, got 13 yesterday. Now I'm looking for better. Alright, we're gonna get another personal best. Nice, it's one. Started on the right side, so rights are gonna be odd. Lefts are gonna be even. Looking for 3 at this point. Something I've noticed because my mech training is really intensive on the hands. I'll get like tired. Also get like fatigued in the brain as well. Right? But like I'll still be playing better mechanically in game. Alright, looking for 4. But right now just gonna focus on helix jumps. Come on, looking for what's it called 5 at this point. No, 4. To wait a little bit longer. Nice. Looking for 5. Still looking for 5. They should still try to flip off. Nice. For 6. Come on. Have to wait a little bit longer. Nice at 6. Looking for 7. Come on, have to wait longer. Come on, still looking for 7. Nice at 7. Gonna look for 8. Looking for 8 at this point. Have to wait a little bit longer. Nice, that's 8. Looking for 9. Jumped a little bit too early. Nice, that's 9. Looking for 10. Nice, it's 10. Looking for 11. Close. Wait a little bit too long. Got it. Wait too long. Looking for 11 soul. Come on. Nice, that's 11. Looking for 12. Kind of jumped too early, so made like the pop off the wall really small. Looking for 12 right now. Timer's going off, which means I have 30 seconds. It's like 20 seconds at this point. So look for 12. Could have that. Dang, went way too early. At this point, kind of stretching the time. I don't want to last attempt. Actually, this is last attempt. Nice. Okay. I'm gonna say 11, even though that was number 12, because that was definitely after 5 minutes. Okay. Next thing, did I do wild dashes yesterday? I did not. I'm trying to alternate every other day. Is that what I want to do? Yeah, I think so. So I'll do wall dashes right now. Same thing with wall dashes, right? If I start the timer. You don't go immediately. It's not the worst thing. Really just focusing on 2 things, trying to wall dash one after another, in quick succession, really quickly and consistently, to try to wall dash from a lower speed. And possibly even both. I tried for a pogo there. Just didn't like. I guess I didn't know how to align it correctly. Kind of like that. Just looking for that consistency and like time between one and the next one to like decrease as low as possible until I'm like spam clicking it. Also, I never would really want to like be going at supersonic like that. I pretty much just want to do it up until supersonic. So let me go ahead and like, I guess I'll say I don't really practice. Let me try not to practice it like that. And I'll purely try to practice it like starting from a slower speed, acting like I have zero boost. Yeah, I think that's just how I'm gonna try and approach it right now. Definitely a lot better than it has been in the past. One thing I'm also surprised by is that like at this point I can also wall dash at 1.3 speed like half the time. It's weird. It's like actually like it's not even half the. It's actually half the time. I feel like a lot of the time when I think I have like a 50% accuracy rate, it's actually like 20. But like it's like actually half the time, possibly even more. Like if I try to wall dash at 1.3x speed, then I'll just get it. All right, gonna go ahead and try for the backwards wall dashes at this point. Ding. All good. Might not help that what's called holding X. I'm holding X after my first flip, or after I wall dash. I'm not sure if that changes anything. But obviously I'm not doing it quick enough. Oh, keep trying. Nice. It's one. Timer's going. Okay. Wait. First, let me turn down this timer noise, cause it is crazy, bro. It is just the loudest it's ever been for no reason. Okay, it's cause system sounds is like I just keep that. Try to keep it. Try to keep it like at 5%, and it was at 50%. So it changes things. Butter. Let me get it. still looking for, I would say 3. Just, what's it called? I mean, just didn't press it fast enough. And then sometimes I'm like trying to do it so fast that like I don't lift my thumb up fast enough. Alright, did I do that before the curve? Just want to make sure. Yeah, the curve is like where this line is, right? So, and I did it before then. Alright, looking for back right. Wall dashes. 3 back right. Nice. Okay, that's 3. Okay, back right was significantly easier than back left. Alright, I can definitely feel it in my arm. It definitely seems like, oh, I've already said this like many times, but like wall dashing is like one of the more muscle intensive like mechanics, I guess. Like where like, it kind of like requires you to build like a little bit of not like serious. It's like a muscle, not like muscle. You know what I mean? Right? You're not gonna get buffed doing wall dashes, but there's a certain like string of muscles that actuate your finger quick enough to do it that you have to build up. All right. I mean, yeah, I think I articulated it. Yeah, I articulated exactly what I meant there. So it's as clear as can be. All right. Okay. Everything is good at this point. Definitely gonna have to take a break on that tomorrow on wall dashes. Just do it every other day. And then 5 minutes meditation. All right. Okay. Timer went off. This map makes me see every like imperfection on the screen. Because it's like so because it's so bright and like so like kind of uniform. I'll see all the like different specks of little things or whatever that are on the screen. All right. Okay. Probably need to clean my screen more though. It's like something like this timer screen. It just won't let me. I just can't see it that well. I can't see anything, and like most things are in like a dark mode. I don't know. Interesting. Uh, interesting to me. 5 minutes. Impossible ring. So I'm gonna start with the left because yesterday I started with right, I believe. All right, come on. Let's get into it. Third day doing this in a row. Went from 10 minutes to 5 minutes. What can we get right now? Not trying to be too safe. Dang, close. Obviously, clean run, clean run. Just misestimated. I'll keep going. And misestimated like exactly where that ring was, obviously. A bit of a depth perception L, but dang, close. Okay. I'm trying to do the thing where like I'll miss once and then all the like I'll just start missing like so many different attempts. Right? Trying to make those the only misses I have. I feel like I was so scared to just move my controller at all. That can't really be the case. Trying to be not death defying, but like yeah, I already said it. Like I'm not trying to be overly cautious, right? I'm trying to like learn how to control my car, not get a good time. This map. Honestly, it felt like control with left was somewhat clear, especially first run. Just like clinical. Wasn't too cautious. It was just like yeah, I was doing all the moves that were needed, and then it kind of deteriorated. And then that's kind of what's happening with right as well. I've had 3 bad deaths so far. 3 deaths total, really. Okay, walk in. Alright, next thing, alternating over 2 rings. I don't count that because obviously I'd use the ring to kind of help me a little bit too much. Went for a clean run through both the first 13 rings with both alternating variations. So one starting with left, one starting with right in a row. Wasn't clean enough. gonna get both variations in a row, so this is starting with left. Honestly, I'll take that. Alright, get into it, get into it. Get into my bag. What do I, okay. I can't, I can't chalk that up to a timer. Timer's like going off and lowering my game volume, but like I could have turned it off, but I didn't, because I was scared. I was gonna lose something, but lost it anyway, so. Oh, just time to find it. Time to find it. Jeez, honestly, if I matrixed my way into that like last ring, through that last ring, would have counted it. Okay, this is alternating, starting with left. Now starting with right. But timer meant that 5 minutes have passed, especially at this point. Or it means like 4 minutes, 30 seconds have passed, but I think it's probably been 30 seconds by this point. So, I didn't even try it, because like, I think at this point, it's just like, because it's just, yeah, it's undoable. Maybe if I play hard into it. Yeah, if I play hard into it, I can do it. And then like I just have to perfectly align vertically. Yeah, I could do it. But that's obviously really tough. Still not at that point where at 1.5 speed I can like perfectly align vertically with my air rolls and everything. I think the hardest part about it is the camera view. It's like different camera views, it's like I can align vertically pretty easily. Nice, clean. Jeez, and I just get clotheslined the next attempt. That kills a streak. Okay, kind of fortunate that bounce kind of like popped me up at the same time as like popping me back. Made it easier to recover from. Oh my gosh, bro. That was even like, that was recoverable. Like it just bounced me up a little bit, but I wasn't ready to like, oh, I wasn't ready to like turn back like that. Interesting. I just went the wrong. I did everything on to the end, and I just went the wrong direction. For no reason. What's it called? $100 route, 10-cent finish. But also, I forgot to switch arrows after I got through with alternating, starting with right. I mean, alternating, starting with right. Nice, okay. Decent enough recovery. This looks difficult. Yeah, it feels difficult too at this point. I'm not sure why I ended that attempt, because just going through that. Alright. Trying to get the left variation, the right variation. Correct, in a row. This is the left variation. Finally. Alright, don't squander this. Alright, finally. Now I'm doing all the openings twice in a row correctly. First 13 rings. Alright, clean. Oh, dang, close. Dang. It's gonna be so nice to get to the point where this is easy. Alright, I'll take that. Nice. Just barely grazed one of the rings, but it doesn't matter. That was too clean. Yeah, jeez. I'm doing a right, starting with right, alternating every 2 rings. Okay. Interesting. I won't count that because it wasn't clean enough. That was a decent recovery. I'll count it. Oh. Now looking for left, starting with left, alternating twice in a row. Swan. That's crazy. I just went guns a-blazing. I'll take that. I'll take that too. Okay. There's something, I think, with my left, or something I'm doing weird. And by weird, I mean like I'm kind of like trying to think about it. I'm basically like I'm not using the sides of my stick. I'm doing this very weird like hard turn about like this point in instead of using the sides of my stick, because I'll notice like with the right arrow right, I'll be very like my car will just like very subtly move in the right directions, right? But with arrow left, it seems like a lot of the time when I go through, it's not doing that. It's basically, yeah, I'm like, especially I'm pulling down a lot. I feel like it's not the full control I want. Okay, that's all. Alright, how long did that take? Let's look at the big reveal. Nope, that is a lot. I'll take 20 seconds off. Or actually, I'll take 30 seconds off because of the rewinding and then what I did at the end. But yeah, that is, what's it called? 13:15. Alright, not the best time. Yesterday I had 5. Today we're at 13:15. Oh, well, happens. I think the idea, or the solution I've come up with to the idea that like doing a lot of mechs training, your hands get like tired a lot faster because you're doing like these very intensive mechs things instead of just driving around the field. So I think when I think about it, it's like My hands are. I can feel it in my hands, like they're tired. They don't want to move as like quickly or as accurately. But it seems like over time, if I just keep playing, keep doing the routine, I'll get better at playing with fatigued hands too. My hands will just become stronger, right? Um, Kind of like with my work, um, I was like really sore doing this like physical work at the beginning, but just kept going to work. Didn't really take too many break days off, right? And then eventually you just stop being sore. I think I could. I was thinking about this before this my session. All right, I'm just doing these hand exercises right now. I could do something like, um, wait, I could do mechs after I do what's it called? Do six mans. So that by the time, so that my six mans are just more performance. I'm trying to focus on performance. It's just less. I'm just less fatigued by then. I could do that. Um, is that going to be worth it? I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I guess I don't know. Because I feel like it's just like at some point I'll just get. This isn't like a thing that scales up that much. AKA, at some point I just won't get like fatigued by my mix trading because it's just easy. Or I think it'll get to that point where like my fingers are just strong enough that it doesn't really affect too much. So then, wouldn't it just make sense anyways to just like keep my mix trading in front? I don't know. I don't know the answer, but hopefully I stumble upon it. Actually, all right, gonna do this position until what's called 123. Um, what's it called? Yeah, yeah. What should I do? It also kind of like kind of changes things when I start really early. It's like I can only do max training because nobody's on, right? Nobody's on, so it doesn't really make too much sense to do anything else because it just won't work, right? Or I can't queue 6 minutes at like 8 a.m. I typically can't get a queue. So then it's like, what should I do then? Oh, not what should I do then? I should obviously be doing max training then. But then I guess that's not really what I'm talking about because like right now, like even right when I started, I probably could have queued. So so then let me think about it. Um, I guess the answer is I should just do as much as little max training as possible before playing. Then I play. Then I do max training after I get it through 6 mans. Um, that probably is the answer to be honest, based on my best knowledge of the scenario. So is that what I'm gonna start doing? I guess so. Because I think something like if I can do something that kind of increase my performance, right? Basically, just get a small warm up, max warm up in, and then do the rest of max afterwards. Then I feel like that might just be more beneficial. Because performance boost to morale to most importantly, like if I can get to B plus sooner or demote to C less soon, all right. These things are like very big effects on like the practice quality I get. Except for the demotion to C, I would probably come back pretty quickly, but hopefully. Hopefully I'd come back quickly. Okay, now we're getting into Dribble 2. Last time I did this, got to level 12 with Ball Cam. Looking for even farther, alright? Been improving. Level 8 the time before. Oh, level 9 the time before. Been improving from level 8 to, I'm just going to ignore that first one. Level 8 to level 12, so trying to get another stage of improvement, alright? Yeah, let me start timer for 10 minutes. Yeah, I feel like I have the answer. Is that, and it's just it's simply to go ahead do max trading after playing. I won't do that today. I'm gonna go through the plan for today, but tomorrow I'm gonna basically just do air dribble gauntlet and drill 5 before playing and get right into it. Okay. Now let me think about it. Actually, I don't have to think about it too much. All right, start timer for 10 minutes. Looking for farther than a level 12. I think everything's already set. All right, let's go. Ball cam dribbler. Try not to get stuck at level 5. Okay, decent, really good. Actually, a really good job on like the air dribble, or this first touch specifically. It's like underneath the ball enough for me to like continue and get another touch underneath the ball. Okay, but we're trying to focus on getting past this level 5. Not a, what's it called acute enough of an angle, right? Not a tight enough of an angle on the turn. Actually, but one thing like the fatigue wouldn't really contribute or save me from the day-to-day fatigue, right? So the like what I feel from playing yesterday, which was probably the biggest one. All right, come on, go for this turn. Oh, what do I think about that? I think the only reason I stopped this is because like okay, I felt like I didn't turn that enough. Is this like valid, right? Ideally, I want this to be basically facing straight forward or very close to it. I guess, I don't know. I just want a better turn, right? I want a better cut where like the ball fully stops all of its sideways momentum. It's very obvious that it's not going over me to one side. Dang. The lower the speed, the faster I have to cut it, because the less like speed I have to stop. If that makes sense. When the ball drops a little bit. Or yeah, the less speed I have to like slow down and cut. If I can turn this around, then dang. I have no idea why I turned that ball in there. Can't really like just turn off to the left and try and cut it like that. Have to kind of keep it like a smoother dribble. Nice. Honestly, okay. I was like, if I could turn this around, then I'll count it. But honestly, controls in game have gotten better. I think also pretty easy, I don't know, metric for when I know like the fatigue is wearing off is that like if like basically my scores go back up and a lot of my max training things, it probably means like the fatigue is wearing off. My fingers have gotten strong enough that like they're not getting tired by my max training in the previous day too much. I should have side flipped instead. Wouldn't really have made too much of a difference. I don't think I was getting the ball back up, but it made more sense in the backflip. Situationally or directionally, both. Nice first cut. Nice, okay. Alright, we move on. Hold on close. Alright, either easy setup, crazy amount of power, hard setup, decent amount of power. Shouldn't have backed off as far as I did on the ball, off the ball there in that setup. To try to get a little bit below the ball there. Come on. Didn't really align the back of my car correctly. Honestly, I would say that's a decent amount of power. Got like quite a bit of roll off of it. Not a lot of height, but you know, it's something. I don't feel like I'm like fully like cheesing that. Really cheesing it too much. It's like I felt like that was a hard setup. It's top down musty, which is harder for me because I haven't practiced them as much. I'll count that. Oh wait, Balkan. Was I using Balkan that whole time? I think I was. Or what's it called? Yeah, I definitely remember doing that. Ayo, James Anderson. Oh no, there's 2 messages in a row. I think it's like 30% chance it's a bot. But probably not. Alright, we're looking for a backflip above, just directly above. What's it called? Alright, come on. Looking to get this in a certain part of the net. Or just a little bit above like, the bottom part of the checkpoint, basically. Just trying for it to not hit that bottom edge. Barely. Trying for it to get above that bottom edge of the checkpoint. Oh, hey, James, I see your messages. I'm not gonna lie, I thought you were bot for a second. I thought you were bot for a second. I don't know, something about the spaces threw me off. Alright, was that, let me see, was this good? Just trying to make sure, was this above that like kind of threshold I want? I think so, yeah. Now I'm looking for a left flick above half checkpoint height. I'm from I'm from the US, or I guess more specifically Texas. No man, I am not a bot. Yeah, I'm from the US, or what's it called? Texas, more specifically, I guess. But I live in Ohio right now. Come on. Come on. Hey, Jason. It's popping. Timer went off, which means I have like 20 seconds, 15 seconds left. Are you new on streaming? Not really, to be honest. I probably do some things that are kind of weird. Like I don't have like a follower. What's it called? A follower thing. Follower or a subscriber, like notification sort of thing. All right. Yeah, that was above half checkpoint height. Was that it as well? Let's see. Yeah, that was as well. I mean, honestly, I got those fast enough that I'll count it. It's a level 12 match since yesterday. Do I stream full time? No, I do not. I just play the game a lot and then stream whenever I'm playing. Yeah. Yeah. Alright. Next thing, 10 minutes snowball cam dribbling. Alright, really looking to go far here. Last time I did this, got to level 13. Before that, got to level 22. Oh no. He's another one of the Twitch custom graphics. No, I'm good, James. Oh, Jason, how are my games after the after the ones we played? I did not do well. But I didn't demote, so that's a W, I guess. No, I'm good, James. Let's see. Let's see. 10 minutes normal can dribbling. I went one and two after we played. So I still went positive on the day, but it doesn't really count because like I was getting last picked. So like should be going. It makes it easier to go positive. It was the first day I went positive while playing 5-6 minutes. This like pass, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 days. Right, it's the first time out of 5 days. It's the first time I went positive, but oh no, it doesn't count because it's like the last pick positive. But I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it. I went 3 and 2 on the day. Yeah, just after the series we played, I just didn't play crazy well. But I also didn't throw too horrible. I threw in one this. The other ones I kind of played solid. Okay, 10 minutes. Normal cam dribbling. All right. Got her. A little bit not enough of a cut for me. Nice enough catch. Got it. Didn't cut enough there. Got it. Just kind of get in front of the ball there. Or I need to get in front of the ball. I think it was mumbling. Honestly, nice. Alright, come on. Trying to first try as many levels as possible. Nice flick. These levels are easier. First try and everything. Honestly, decent getting underneath the ball. Decent alignment. I just should have went 10 times earlier. I kind of recoiled back too much. Okay, decent alignment. Got multiple edges on it. Got a trail. Didn't get underneath the ball. I just didn't. I forgot how to control my car. Happens though. Come on. Still looking for that. What's it called? I won't count that because it felt like an easy setup. Yeah, I'm just like recoiling a crazy amount. Alright, come on, I got this stuff. I could do a much better job of lining things there. Turn link. I don't know. I have to like learn how to use all the arrows and conjunction for the must-see, especially that top-down kind of alignment. I'm just pointing my nose down. Have to boost a little bit, make sure I'm boosting a little bit closer to the ball. Might have counted that if it went into the checkpoint. Come on. Okay. Come on. Really don't want to get stuck here at this point. Nah, I'm not falling for this again, bro. It's a spaces. It's a spaces before the question mark. It's it's just not. come on. Okay, I tried. I just did not align my car correctly. Also, like, I get lost midair. I just how did I mess up that badly? Honestly, I got like the alignment relatively. I just needed to flip. Close. Bro, am I playing at 2 times speed? Yes, I am. Alright, you haven't even seen this part of the routine. It's crazy. No, I'm not playing at 2 times. I'm playing at like 1.3 speed. Just to make it harder. Seems like all skills like transfer from like 1.3 speed to not 1.3 speed. So then it's like if I can get more reps, make the reps harder, might as well. Honestly, I'll take that. I'll take that. Alright, come on. Wanted to be a little bit higher than the bottom, right? I'm just gonna set that as like a baseline. Just looking for a back flip, a left flick, then a right flick. Alright, that was high enough. For the left flick and the right flick, I'm looking for it to be higher than half height of the checkpoint. Because it's just a lot easier to get a lot of power off of it. Oh, can't tell. Yeah, that was it. I'm looking for a right flick. I think that was a low. Oh no, I can't tell though. No, I won't count it. Looking for higher, I'll say. Yeah, obviously, definitely doing this level. It's kind of improved my flicks. Yeah. Yeah, that was good. Alright, next thing. Another level where I'm just looking for a good musty. Go do Lethamir's Manscaped Challenge. I'm not doing that. Wait, no, I don't. No, I'm not doing that. It's a horrible spot. Alright, I think I've checked that one out. It's just like, it's just harder, right? So after I like get good at this one, I'll probably do that one, right? Or yeah, after this becomes easier, I'd probably be going to that map. I think, yeah, I even have it downloaded. Just as your brain has a circadian rhythm, your brain also understands timing from nature. If you mess with timing, warp behavior, it will absolutely screw you right there. I disagree. Alright. Or it seems like from my experience with doing this, your brain kind of just adjusts, right? It just understands how things are moving at relative speed. So like when I practice my musties in here, my musties in game get better. Alright, looking for an easy setup with a lot of power, or a hard setup with a decent amount of power. Come on. Hold. Let me ask you something. Yes. Wait, that makes zero sense as a response there, but. Alright, I'll take that. Got a lot of power. Timer went off, so I have 30 seconds. If players can make it pro without taking the path you're taking and quicker, what makes your route more efficient? Well, we don't know quicker because we don't really know what this looks like, what someone taking this path looks like. So I think the idea in my head is like, why would I do literally what like I'm pretty sure like 90% of people are doing, if that makes sense. Right? Because it seems to like also not have a good success rate if I'm looking at it, right? Because I would have to, because I feel like it's like the most arrogant thing I could do is like do the same exact thing and think like I'm just different. I'm just different. When I'm playing free play, I'm just different. When I play twos and like I go into the six mans, I'm just different. Like they're, yeah, I can hop into a call. Let me finish this first. And by finish this, I mean like take like I don't know, a minute or 30 seconds because I'm about to like end here. Right here, just looking for a quick air dribble off the side. Trying to get this ball up and active faster. Or earlier than where this like wedge intersects the ground. Right. Oh jeez, I just got. Dang, this doesn't usually happen. Because honestly, I was doing decently on the air dribble. I just got clocked by this wedge. Would I have made it? I wouldn't have made it anyways. So I'm trying to get this into the end without it touching the ground. Oh, wait, was that it? Or let me see. Did I jump off before? Yeah, honestly, yeah, I did. Did a decent job air dribbling. Will I count that? Nah. Alright, that's a level 13. Level 13 finish. Okay, I'm joining team chat. I'm done restarting my game. Ayo, Ulti. What's poppin'? Ayo, AJDJ. Who is AJDJ? Do you know who that is?
I'm not sure. No.
Okay.
Also, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Ulti. You
Yeah,
wake
you
up.
can tell I don't have the track record of a pro, right?
Yeah,
As you were saying.
yeah. You don't have the gamer sleep schedule.
No. That's not true. I stayed up to this. But anyway,
Okay. Wait, what?
that's not important.
No.
Not important. Not important.
No.
Not important. Anyway,
Okay.
so let me kind of. I'm gonna pick your brain a little bit here.
Uh huh.
And I want to kind
Oh.
of like understand your perspective
Uh huh.
of like what you're trying to do, like what the nature of your intent is, what the rationality behind your estimated time of completion, things of that nature. What do you find to be the motivator of this all?
Um. To get to the highest level. Okay, wait. Yeah, to like get to the
No,
highest level
not
of
your
our.
intent of outcome. What's the motivator?
What's the motivator?
Yeah.
Kind of the intent on the outcome. Not gonna lie, is like the outcome. Um, because yeah, that's what I would think of the motivator. I guess the motivator. I don't know. Let's say going into like today. Obviously, today I'm not gonna like by the end of it be a pro. Is to, I guess, kind of advance my skill in every sector of the game as like efficiently as possible.
Okay, so let me ask you something then, if that's the case.
Yeah.
How can you do that if you're not fully refined beforehand?
What do you mean by refined?
Refined, able to do everything you want to do in the game. Not like the most efficient route, not the quickest, right? Let's say at a play that you're trying to play at 100% at, you're currently playing at like 40% efficiency, right? And your goal is to get to 100% before anything else. Right?
Sure. I'm not, or actually, I'm not sure if like I understand, or exactly. What do you mean like my play in general? Like I'm at 40% and I'm looking for
your gameplay,
yeah.
like
Okay.
different aspects of your gameplay, your mechanics, your positioning, your rotations, your spacing, your boost management, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it seems like what you're trying to do is just try to like force yourself into like super strenuous like Goku level
Okay.
like levels of efficiency, right?
Kind of, yeah.
When all that extra task management and orientation can arguably set you back more than it would progress your future.
So you're saying like overloading the brain, trying to like learn too many things at
No.
once.
No. I'm saying screwing with your muscle memory while also prioritizing many different things so that your brain doesn't actually have time to absorb.
So are you talking about specifically the training, the
Subconscious
mech trainings?
and your muscle memory.
Are you talking mech training or just everything in general?
Everything.
So I'm trying to. Could you repeat that or like rephrase it?
Right. So
So-
it's like studying for an exam while looking at every single section in one day, every single day.
Um.
And the exam is super far away, and you don't know what the questions are going to be.
I mean, I think it's like.
Bear with me here. This isn't me being like, this is me playing devil's advocate for a second. Because,
Yeah.
like, I get where you're coming from with this, like, analytical approach and the thought process of turning everything into, like, its max efficiency so that you can get the most, like, bear with me on the analogy, but essentially, like, the most water out of the cloth, right? Like, squeezing every little flash drop,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But in doing so, I'm very concerned that you are. I mean, you're definitely going to find out over time, right? And I get that you're going to disagree with this, and I understand that nature behind it. But over time, you are going to realize after you've gotten everything down how much you've avoided from streamlining the process because you've added so much work to your workload. And so if you can be, rather than being perfect, if you can be good enough and then strive for perfect, wouldn't that be more practical and also more realistic towards your goal?
What do you mean?
Measurable in a sense?
Perfect in like routine?
No, like trying to find every which way to be perfect. For example, when I was telling you about like rotations, and then you like, or not rotations, pathing, boost pathing. The first thing you did was completely go to, shuttle runs, which is like cool if you have test comparison data for timing with other players, because that's how shuttle runs work, right? It's a database of collected measurements of time based off of every single person who's done the shuttle runs.
I mean, I don't think I was really thinking about it in that sense. I was more thinking of it in like the sense like I need to how am I gonna do this? How am I about to do these? Like I think I just call them multi lines in my schedule. It's like okay, I'm just gonna what path like goes through all of them. That's pretty much what I'm thinking. It's like how do I practice this? And then that was like the first approach was kind of like this not procedural, but like this path. I just basically chose a path. And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
it kind
and I
of
think-
looks like that like relay thing you did in the gym class or something.
I think interpreting the way that you need to for you to best understand is a great thing, but I also think like adding hoops to jump through really screws you over.
What do you-
And I think so. You add complexity to a lot of your methods on top of what's already discussed.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think what's it called first. I feel like not whiplash, but I want to like slow down the conversation if that makes sense, and like first like go like point to point. I feel like the first idea of like kind of studying every single topic. Let's say there are like 10 topics in like your calculus, and you need to get down like studying every single topic once. What's it called? Every single topic a little bit every day, like just hitting everyone every day, and like your exam is really far away. I'm pretty sure. I feel like if I'm thinking about that would work, right? And then maybe a more efficient way would be like you don't want to, if let's say topic two, I don't know, like in like I don't know calculus, all the topics aren't connected, but some of them are kind of sequential, you know. So like you
Mhm.
might want to learn like topic two before learning topic three. So like in that scenario, it'd be like making it more efficient would just be making sure you're trying to do things sequentially, right?
Yes,
But
correct. But
I
also not so. Okay, so the thing is, let's say you're taking this at a scale from like 0% to 100%. 100% being like the absolute most you can do in a day, right? And I feel like, and outside of being impractical, I mean like what you're doing now, right? In comparison to everyone else's workload, regardless of their climb to pro, right? In comparison to the workloads of other players, you would be putting yourself at, let's say, 90 to 100%. And in comparison, most players are putting themselves at 50 to 60. It's not a measurement of efficiency, it's a measurement of workload capacity and the rationale behind that. Right? So I want you to think real quick in terms of becoming a pro, right? Because that's your overall goal. You want to be the best player in the world, right?
yeah.
Okay. How do you become the best player in the world? Realistically and practically to the time that you have.
It seems like I guess this is also like kind of one of the like founding, not founding, I don't know, not founding fathers, founding like kind of principles on like how I structured everything. It's like in
A
other,
founding pillar, if you will.
yeah, in other sectors and everything. I'm trying to think about like how skill development happens, like kind of
Sure.
sports and everything.
Yep, but don't do that.
But don't do that. What do you mean?
Yep. So if you think about it, Rocket League, right? In Okay, so what sport do you most compare it to?
Um, Honestly, not like a specific one. I guess the easiest one I'd probably think
What
about off the top
coaching
of my head.
instructions or like athletic, because it seems like you're setting standards for athletes and other sports to the standards you have for this game.
It's more like I'm taking certain concepts that seem to be useful in the training of like other sports and like
Sure. So
implementing them
give me an
into.
example. What do you mean?
So like let's say Kobe Bryant in basketball, if you know who that
Sure.
is. Um, he said like he practices this shot like 1,000 times per day, and like he goes into the game and like he tries to
Sure.
execute on it, right?
100%.
So basically, that's like one concept. It's like I guess you could take from that. I think, or
Yeah,
I thought about
no.
this.
I agree with that part. That's good, right?
Yeah.
Like the training you're shooting and like getting your shot placement down and things of that nature. Yeah, because it's not really about like how well can you place a shot every time. It's more about like are you able to consistently do that and then with that move on. Because you're able to have full confidence when you're in game because it's not really about your ability to do the shot in general, right? It's like, well, it starts off that way. But once you're able to do it pretty much every time you try and then like if you go away from it and it turns out like you can't do it every time you try, but like when you're in tournament pressure, you're able to execute on that peak level, then it doesn't really matter so much so about hitting it more than it does about being able to hit it under pressure. Right?
Yeah.
And so the idea of consistently repeating every single hit that you're going to go for and all that kind of nature, yes, to an extent, but no once you're practical. Like once you're at the point where you can move on. Because if you try and practice, you know, 2 or 3 of the same thing, and you got to think about it like chess, right? There are different openings, but there are also so many different combinations of moves. Now, if you put this into practicality of angle and execution and timing and pressure from Rocket League, if you think about the different levels of variation, it's way more than chess.
Yeah, I think that's somewhat true, but like there's still like kind of skill pillars that like relate heavily to certain situations, if that makes sense, right?
Oh,
So
I agree.
it doesn't mean like things are unpracticable. I feel like that's almost to the point where it seems like you're kind of coming from. But first, I guess like kind of going back, what's called talking about like okay, let's say Kobe practices a shot. I think like
Sure.
after, I think one, I think I already said that, or probably mentioned this yesterday. It seems like a lot of people, a lot of pros don't get to the point right like they're actually like hitting the shot 100% in training. Um,
Sure.
or shots, let's say shots more common, like that actually makes sense to practice, right? Because there are a lot of shots that don't really
Sure.
seem to matter too much, that it wouldn't make sense for them to practice. So it seems
Okay.
like even though like there's like obviously there's a correlation between what you hit without pressure in training, what you hit
Sure.
with pressure in training, and like
Okay.
there's
So let me ask you something then.
Mhm.
Because and I'm sorry for like I'm a repeating record with that phrase for some reason right now, but bear with me. Um, in order to go with this thought process of saying a pro's never done it, or to say that because they don't have the shot consistency or that kind of nature, um, could you argue that you are somewhat downplaying the level of ability pros actually have? Because you say, oh, well, it could be better, right? But how practical is it to say that without actually being there and knowing truly what they go through? Because it's not like players aren't determined. That's not absolutely not what it is, you know?
um yeah, it seems like it seems like yeah, a lot of players aren't determined, but like you also know that like there are a lot of players that don't try, right? I I feel like you also know that at this point. So it feels
Right. Okay.
like
But if they're able to stay at the top of their game, then it doesn't really matter, does it?
whether they like play or not, right?
Right. No, no, no. Stay at the top of their game, as in, like, able to compete at the highest level and still stick around there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It doesn't.
Right. And so the
Oh,
highest level will eventually change, right? Sure.
yeah.
We could argue that. Okay. Do you think they are dynamic enough to handle that?
To like handle what's called like a change in the amount of time they're
Dynamic.
required to put in it.
Dynamic in their
Um,
adjustment.
some are, some aren't, right? Some will like fall off in the future, some won't.
Sure. Totally fine. That's totally a fine thought process, right?
Yeah.
The reason that I'm going through this, man, it is because I used to think about this thought process of saying, like, oh, you know, why aren't the pros doing this? This is clearly the better option. Why aren't the pros doing that? It's clearly a better option, right? But when you talk with players, the more work you make the game, the less fun you have, and the more burnout you get. But here's the thing, I understand that you're having fun by learning all this stuff and doing better and getting that nature, right? That's totally chill. But I want to think about like the reality behind your progress. You're trying to max out from like where you're at in everything, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In doing so, because you're not there yet, how is it maxing out effectively versus maxing out for the purpose of being like a stat holder, right? It's almost like practicing for a speed run in something that you want to play like at the same level of, but if not better, right?
Wait, what does that mean? Or like the
Sure.
sentence you said.
So like someone who practices playing the game and getting really good at the game versus someone who like, and I'm not talking about Rocket League, but just like in
Yeah,
an
yeah.
analogy of another game, right? Let's say it's a skill-based game. In the analogy, let's say like someone who's really good at, let's say a shooter. Someone who's really good at aiming, at timing, at like knowing the positions of the players, right? Versus like someone who practices how to aim perfectly every single time and like tries to get positioning down, but then also like tries to make everything the most convenient for their aim. And so like instead ends up shooting themselves in the foot because rather than being really good at all topics, they're like really good at one thing first, then the second thing, then the third thing. But you think about the time consistency within that and the time consumed, and also the level of false foundation you would have to get rid of because you're specializing too much in one topic.
So kind of translating that over to Rocket League, it seems like
Mhm.
you're kind of saying I'm over focusing in mechs.
I think, yeah, 100%. 100%. I think if you stuck with the mechs you have now and like truly just went for positioning and rotation and boost management, you would already be like rank X. No joke. But for some reason, this thought process in honing on your own individual skill versus honing your ability to control outcome of play and team aspect, like it occurred to me that whenever we had our training session, right, like there was really no indicator that you had truly thought through the team aspect more than you have individual aspect and other individual aspects. But in doing so, have lost sight of the overall goal and objective. And so, in focusing so much, like every time I see you go into six-man, this thought process of like, don't get me wrong, I understand documentation, right? Because you're wording to yourself so you can watch the VOD later or something of that nature to really like hone in on your thoughts at the time. That way you don't have to like try and remember everything, and you don't have to write it down either, right? So you're like focus on control, focus on getting pressure or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Usually what you'll say is like focus on control, and then you'll say come on, be confident or something like that, right?
Kind of. Sometimes
like,
I'll usually do
about,
control and
control
like
the
one
play.
other thing. Yeah, controlling the ball. Or
Right,
that
okay.
basically means
In
like I
doing
don't
so-
want to throw the ball away a lot of the time.
Right. Okay, but this is the biggest thing that I want to mention, and I've used this analogy with a lot of people, right?
Mhm.
When you were a kid, did you ever climb trees?
Not really, to be honest.
Did you ever climb anything? Did you ever like do anything that was like physical and like as a kid you didn't really think much of it, but you got really good at it?
Yeah.
All right, sure. So when you got really good at it, did you think every little thing out, or did you really just kind of feel it and got really good at it, acknowledged your skill, and just got better anyway because you were having fun?
Yeah, I think that's probably the first course with like Rocket League.
Yeah,
So
100%. And if you're rank B, dude, you're not there yet. You're not. You're not playing instinctively enough yet. In fact, most of this overthinking shit is what keeps people from actually growing. No offense. Because they get way too lost into trying to make the journey so diverse before they're even at like near their destination. Like you're talking about improving stuff to the point of being marginal, right? Because you're trying to get rid of those margins and make them as small as possible. And in doing so, is putting yourself on such an exhaustive and extensive task that there's no way there's any practicality that pro will be within those reaches yet. Because if you're focusing on everything, therefore, you're going to notice a lot of stuff you're going to have to start dumbing down because of the way that rotations cut off those opportunities. Right? And so the sooner you get onto rotations and the sooner you get into boost management, the better it's going to be, because you've been practicing this for so long, and yet you still have a lot of trouble like on the field as a teammate. You do. Right? Like that's the biggest concern.
wait,
What's the point of
practicing
Sorry,
what? Are you talking about like
your
practicing
individual gameplay?
mechs and like my mechs on the field are still not like there?
No.
makes
It
sense?
has nothing to do with your mechs. Your mechs are fine in those moments. It's more about your timing and your pacing to the decision, because everything that you do, when you start thinking in your head about the gameplay rather than just having fun, it ruins your brain's effectiveness in doing what it does best and better than you. It processes so much faster than you do. And so when you take it into a manual processing event and you're in game, it makes you slower because it promotes hesitation, because you have to think out your options.
What do you say like over time, like that just after manually kind of forcing certain like
Right, you're thinking
focuses,
second nature, right?
it becomes more natural, right?
Yeah, second nature, right? Yeah, 100%. But here's the thing. you should only be doing that for so long, not for 2 months or something, you know? Like, that should be something where, like, okay, you shouldn't be really thinking in game. You should be going in game. And this is what we talked about, right? Simplicity in game, complexity outside of game. But don't get so lost into it that you give yourself too much homework. Because then you're not really going to know where to start, and you're not really going to be consistent in your growth because there's too much to focus on. And so you need to start like honing it down to like general coverage, get better at that general coverage, and then once you get the marginal correction where it actually like truly emphasizes your ability, then you can start doing it. But until then, like,
Wait, start doing what?
Sorry?
You said like start doing it. What do you mean by it?
So like, okay. So right now, like I said, you're trying to cover the marginal adaptations and growth, right?
Okay, so you're saying, okay, so max training, I'm just trying to like rephrase or clarify to make sure I'm like understanding. So you're saying that like max training it's really not that useful, right? I was like thinking about time
Not
slash
right now.
efficiency. Time to
Right.
efficiency. It's just like, it's a marginal compared to the other things I could be doing for
Well,
improvement.
okay. You're mechanically good enough at this point to start pushing for A tops for now, right? And the thing is, if you already know that and you're already at that point, then everything else should become irrelevant until you hone in on what gets you up in rank. And that's rotation and effectively compensating for the role that you, like, your teammates can't handle. Because there will always be, especially in rank B, there are always players that do not play roles properly. And in a sense, if you're getting scored on, then you're doing it wrong. Right? It's not about trying to play like the rotation of a team in a team setting where everyone's fully coordinated. It's about like trusting until you need to take trust away from your teammate without obviously like telling them or being like super difficult as a teammate, right? Like be there for the passes that they give you, but at the same time, like if you keep getting scored on, then you need to find a way to stay third man more and let them be more aggressive, because usually whenever players can't play good on the defensive, I'm getting a
They're
little off
good
topic here, but
on
once
offense.
players can't get good on defense, right? That means that they're usually really good at offense because that's their specialty. And if
Yeah.
you put them there, you're going to have a much better outcome potential than you would just trying to harness like your own offense and your own defensive moments. You take a lot of the control out of the play by trying to focus on what can you do better individually and not what can you do better to serve your team. Truly. And that, I think, is where your fundamental flaw is, because you're so invested into self-improvement that you almost disregard the nature of a team.
Okay, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a massive oversight that I think needs to be refined, because that's what's going to get you your ability to climb, right? The ability to work with your team, function for your team, and then work on your individual once your team is down. You know what I mean? Like once your team work is down, team gameplay.
hmm I mean, ideally, wouldn't like both of those things kind of meet at the same exact
They would
point?
collaborate with each other, but ideally they would be so like, let's say you had a graph, right? A 2-bar graph.
hmm
And on one side, you have individual gameplay, which is mechanics and positioning. Well, no, I mean, that still gets a team. But like mechanics, boost management, literally just like things of those nature, right? Of that nature.
Yeah.
Reading the play, that's also on the individual aspect, but goes into team. So it starts intertwining, right? But the idea is like, let's say you get your individual to like 60% efficiency, and your team gameplay is like 40% on the bar graph. Okay, cool. You need to get your team gameplay to where it plateaus, and then you work on your individual. Then you put that up, and then you plateau with your team again, et cetera, et cetera. That's how that grows, right? But if you focus on individual only and focus on getting your own individual stuff down, if you don't hone in onto the team aspect, you're never going to be able to apply your individual with actual efficiency. Better yet, effectiveness.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I think I was like wouldn't you basically just raise both at whatever rate like it takes to like kind of plateau both of them at
No,
the
because you need one over the other eventually. Because you can be good enough individually as like mechanical and stuff, but you're gonna see players who can like be in rank X, be in like B plus because they're not actually playing wise to their team. Even though they're super fast, they're super mechanical, and they're super able in that sense. What you mostly see the mistake out of is that players who focus on what can I do in the moment to be better against this player don't really focus on like how is this outcome affecting my team and is my team's positioning good for this play.
or actually I think I was thinking about it differently. Or it's more like if you're training basically raising that kind of like mechanics efficiency and then also having that team focus going in game.
Yeah.
Like just basically doing both at the same time, though max at like a lower rate because of like the I don't know efficiency curve.
I think once you like when you practice your mechanics outside of the game, then when you're in game, you should really just focus on being a good teammate and having fun because your mechanics are meant to be second nature, right? So focusing them on like when you're in game just kind of defeats the purpose of trying to make them second nature, right? Things should be like eventually where it gets so second nature that you're not thinking on it anymore, right? That's the whole
Yeah,
point. And
but at
then
some
all
point
you
you
do is
think
like
about it,
general
right?
coverage, which is the simplicity aspect when you're in game. I don't know what you said, sorry.
But at some point you have to be thinking about it, right? Otherwise it's like really hard to, even though like you can go into training, practice like learn how to ceiling shot, but if you
Sure.
actually never spend any time trying to like implement it, then it'll just take longer to implement and it might just never get implemented.
100%. Yeah, no, you should absolutely practice it. Yeah, you should practice it in high pressure moments, of course. But I'm saying flow state, right? Your overall goal is to get to flow state because that's how players operate at the highest level. They're in flow state, right? It's not so much about them like overthinking everything. No, usually it's flow state plus comms and then all of your like training in the background. But like when you're on the field, when you're in game, you do the thing that you need to do to win, which is having fun, making sure you're smart, and making sure that you're a teammate, right? So the idea is like comms and positioning for your team are paramount.
That makes sense. Sorry, give me a second to like
Yeah, sure.
kind of think about this.
Also, hopefully it doesn't sound like I'm yelling. I'm very passionate about this topic.
No, you're fine.
But I get it, man. I've seen your routes, so.
Um, okay, let me try to think about this. What's it called? So it seems like okay, so I think for whatever reason, it's weird because almost everything he's saying, like I've thought about at some point in the past, but like I'll think about it as like a really small thing, right? So I think I even have this thing. Actually, I want to show it. It's like I've thought about it as like I really want to kind of adapt. Actually, kind of. I've thought about it. I don't know. I'm kind of being vague right now. I think first thing in my head is like I've thought about in the past. Do I want to kind of just play like I would on a pro team, or kind of try and adapt to have like a rank B play style? And I think in the past I've been like, okay, let me try to play like a pro play style in rank B, and as long as I'm good enough, I'll just rank up, right? And the goal isn't to rank up as quickly as possible; it's to get to a pro play style as quickly as possible. And I thought like that thing exactly. Um, Let me first note that down. And this is still the goal, but it might be like it might actually take longer to just try to implement that in rank B as opposed to ranking up and then trying to implement it more and more in higher ranks. And then there's also like, so that's first thought. All right, I'll make that first bullet point. And then there's next thought, which is like, okay, so you said mechs is really a more of a marginal thing, right? Getting to that pro play style, kind of like relating back to this, is going to take like 90%. Okay, actually, no, this is not what you said. Or getting to like X, like play, right? is going to take could take 90% team coverage, and then let's say 10% more mechs, something like that. And the pro playstyle will probably way more towards mechs, right? I'd have to improve it to a certain baseline. So let's go ahead and say I don't know. It's weird because that's pro, but then the idea is to get to the top of pro, and also the top of pro in whatever time it takes me to get to pro is going to be a little bit higher. So then I was just thinking about this. Let's say 60% coverage is the path, and then it's going to be I have to improve my mechs quite a bit, but to just meet up with the line, right? Let's say this is where I am right now. This is where pros are right now. That's slowly increasing, right? I have to this is just a mechs graph. I would have to kind of meet, ideally, these the coverage and my mechs reach the highest of the pro level, right? At the same exact time. Well, not at the same exact time. Basically, I'm just not introducing too many things later on. It's the same kind of pillars I'm building up constantly, right? Kind of going back to the idea of what's it called? Going back to the idea of the sequence, right? It might be more efficient to do things in sequence, but these sort of things aren't necessarily done in sequence too much, right? They kind of augment each other. Okay, if I'm positioned correctly, then I'll get more opportunities to use my mechs, but they're not. It doesn't necessarily mean I have to learn them in sequence or switch back and forth. Kind of thinking about that. Seems kind of the major, not synopsis, but basically the summary right now is okay, I'm not focusing enough on rotation. I think also Spooked kind of had that sort of message kind of, or he just realized a lot in B plus, from B plus going to A, that it's just a lot more about how I rotate and cover things, than about how he controls the ball, or going for really stupid controls. I'll say I might be, because I think ideally I might be doing mechs for 3 hours, but I want to get to what's it called 6 man. So for 5 hours and 6 hour, no, 6 man to 5 hours of playing and doing all my processes. So ideally it's gonna be something like this, but really what it turns out to is I do 3 hours of mechs kind of guaranteed, and then I might have to rush, and this is instead of this being 40-60, it's more 40-20, and I'm doing a lot more mechs than I am actually getting in game, repping coverage and different rotational concepts, right? So that's a little bit of almost a practicality of my routine that I'm not executing on right now. So then I think just looking at that, I'm definitely finitely. I think I was going to say I might be overvaluing mechs, but I think just thinking back to what I just said, I'm definitely overvaluing mechs. Kind of going back to earlier, kind of reaching back to earlier in the conversation, it's thinking about, it's okay, I'm doing the Goku 100%, right? Something like that. But then it was also a little bit after that, it was about kind of that pros are doing enough to stay at the top, right? Like, um, yeah, they're doing what they need to do to stay at the top. It feels like. And then there's also, if I need to, I can go back and VOD and re-listen to it. I'm just trying to think, was there something around that Goku 100% sort of thing? Oh, and then I think this is the other biggest thing is that I need to be practice flow state.
So I'm gonna interrupt here for a second. You can't
Yeah,
really
I'm done.
practice flow state. Flow state is something you get whenever you're at that point.
No, but I think you kind of like can, right? Because even though, like, I don't know, probably a lot of people that aren't pros go into like flow state. So it's not like necessarily like a high level thing. It's more like a focus
Okay,
thing,
I
right?
get so yeah. At their kind of like their quality of flow state. Okay, I get what you mean
Yeah,
then.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know
Um,
if practice is really the best word. I think you
it's
should say attain.
yeah, basically like I don't know, try to like put forth the conditions, if that makes sense. Wait, am I unmuted? I'm not sure. Oh, I am. Okay.
You're good.
You're
I
good?
can hear you.
Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So basically just try not to focus on anything so that like flow state is more likely. Um,
Right. Yeah, because it's a natural thing, right? It's like it's a process of feeling it in the zone, right?
yeah.
You can't manually force yourself into the zone. That's not a thing, right? You can find ways to like help your atmosphere to encourage yourself getting into the zone, but you can't force it because if you try and force it, never works out. So the idea is like do whatever you need to get into the zone, but like at the same time, like the manual attempt, like trying to brute force it, doesn't exist.
Okay.
This is why like some people like listen to music beforehand or they'll take a walk or they'll leave the game for a second, right? Because it detaches them and then once they get on the field, they're right back into it. So I don't know if you know the difference between avoidance and approach coping.
I have no idea.
All right, so avoidance is basically anything that detaches you from the current setting that you're in.
Hmm.
And then approach is like grinding the hell out of it in moments of coping, right? So like let's say you're in tilt mode.
Hmm.
There's a so it has been clinically proven with psychology that uh, approach coping is much less effective than avoidance coping because approach coping doesn't take you out of the setting. And so if you're tilting from the game, how many times do you see players like go into grind mode? And like how often do you see them like trying to get out of that tilt, but just like eventually showing up right back into it? It's why people lose ranked games like 10 games in a row because they're not willing to like leave the game and then come back for a bit. Right? That's the whole idea of like if you're losing, get off for the night because then if you like show up the next day, you're going to go on much higher like you're going to be on a higher chance of a win streak. And you're going to feel better too. But if you go on a losing streak and then you get off at the end of the night after your losing streak and then you show up the next day and it's like nothing has changed, you're going to run into more burnout over time.
Okay, that makes sense. I think something I think about a little bit is like, or similar, is like the idea that it's kind of like a zero sum game, whether I play tonight or whether I play tomorrow, as long as I'm
Mm.
kind of like consistent, right? So if I
Right.
like, I could play six mans, or I could like get some
Yeah.
sleep, and
Yeah.
then
But I would also say, okay, so that's the thing, right? That's another thing. I notice you taking your time reviewing your six fans in some of the most like in a very inefficient way because it doesn't actually like help in the long term, right? What you're doing whenever you look at pro replays, especially that you're doing, is like looking at their individual gameplay and seeing like why did they make that decision individually. Sure, that makes sense. Like looking at that is great, right? But now you need to start looking at like how are they serving their team? Because that's the most important. And better yet, rather than getting pro replay content, because you're not facing the content that pros are facing. And so you can't try and replicate that because you're only going to have lesser variety, like a lesser version of it. Right. And
Mhm.
so to look at that is great for inspiration. But in terms of like guidelines of what you should do in like your six man series and stuff,
Mhm.
you can't do the same thing that they do because you don't get the same opportunities that they show up at. So what's more important is to watch players who are better than you, who you like truly believe like position better to you, have a way better win rate than you, all that kind of nature, and watch them in their six man's environments. Watch them in their ranked gameplay environments. Watch pros in ranked, right? Like things of that nature because that's where you're going to see them adapting to players that they're not always dealing with. Whereas teams are on like full chemistry runs and like time over time of just scrims and constant grinding of a certain type of practice.
So it's kind of
Right?
like
It's really. Sorry, go ahead.
it's kind of trying to look at like a generalized approach as opposed to like the specific high level like
Right.
team
So what
approach.
you were saying, the pro play style, right?
Yeah.
There's a difference between a pro in a ranked match and a 6-man match and a pro scene. And you can't try and just find content from pro gameplay to like pro gameplay at RLCS level to try and enhance your gameplay with 6-mans unless you're truly focusing on like if you're watching RLCS gameplay, you have to watch how they're serving their team. Because then it's all about the angles that their teammates are set up at that they're like helping out and the disadvantages they put the opponent's team in based on the outcome overall. Right? So rather than just making it bad for an individual, you're making it bad for the opponent's team overall because it's like, okay, cool. This play is going to be horrible for where their positioning is as a whole. All three of them won't be able to handle this play faster than my team. Or if they do, they're going to have a bad clear and I can push into that anyway.
Okay. So just during pro VOD, if I am going to do it, then just focus on like team outcomes.
Yep.
And that kind of just there's more general coverage and playing for team, right?
Right, because then the idea is like, I'm not saying that that's like end all be all. I'm saying like once you get that down, then you can start really getting into specifics, right? But until then, like you can't try and get into their level of content in such like tenacity because it's only going to like show on a game where like you're facing that, right? So here's the thing, Drift. The more you analyze them at the highest gameplay, the more you can handle the highest gameplay once you're up there. But until then, you can't handle shit. That's why when you see players who are like super good and then they leave the game and try and come back and they find out that they're like lesser skilled than what they used to be, they do this thing that like puts them in a vicious cycle where they try and be what they were rather than growing from where they're at and just like focusing on enjoying the game and improving from where they're at. So like rather than saying like, oh man, I used to be able to do these, right? It's not about being able to use like not being used to be able to. What's the word? My English is horrible right now. It's not about like trying to do the things you used to be able to, right? It's not about like trying to streamline it and do it the same way because you're a different person than you were when you played the game and grew from that point. So to try and like grow in the same way that you grew in the past without accepting how different you are in mentality, thought process, and approach kind of ruins that, right? So my whole point is don't try to put yourself at max gameplay at pro level if when you get there, you're going to have to approach it differently anyway because of the circumstances you're going to get used to along your growth.
Okay, but you still agree that like kind of learning from pro gameplay lends what's called increases like understanding of the game, but most
creativity
importantly
and inspiration.
Most importantly it kind of like it keys you in on one of like the best things to do, or somewhat
it's the logic
the best
behind
things.
it. Yeah, 100%. I agree. But I do think like you've watched a bunch of that and you haven't been able to apply it in the same way because you've been missing the whole point. And that's looking at team gameplay. Because you're at the point where you understand a lot of like why players are doing what they're doing individually. But you keep reviewing pro VODs instead of like reviewing pro VODs on individual. And to me, like you're at like 90% on that already, right? And what you're doing now is marginal, even though you don't really like acknowledge that your team play is probably like 40%, maybe 30.
Okay.
So
I guess like kind of wrapping up on that.
About like what you're reviewing. It's more about like what you're prioritizing along the path.
Okay, that makes sense. So I guess kind of thinking about that, it's like probably like okay, when I go into pro VOD review later today, 15 minutes before my 6-mans, I'm going to be focusing a lot more on. I think I somewhat tried, but like I don't feel like I really did completely focus on like team play and like how like team outcomes occurred and more of these like general concepts as
For
opposed to
me,
like individual
what I would
plays.
prefer you to do is rather than and like just for a little bit, right? Just see how it works out for you. Go watch pro players in their ranked games in threes. Go watch how they deal with adversity from a teammate. Because you're going to have to deal with adversity from a teammate too. You can't play on, like, you're not going to have phase on your team.
I think though I think I've thought about this before. I think I would
Sure.
rather develop towards a pro playstyle than like a win and rank B playstyle, which are probably like a little bit different.
Well, if you want to go pro, you got to be able to handle yourself in adaptability, and so you have to have that as a function.
Like the
Especially given
adaptability.
that networking is the biggest thing that becomes a pro. No joke. Networking is the biggest quality to becoming a pro.
Or what's it called? But like I think also like basically these two things, these two offshoots are basically like the adaptability and kind of like how do pros play in ranked, and then
Yep.
kind of looking at how pros play in like scrims and tournament
Yep.
play. It seems like
Yep.
these two things are basically like 80% or like 90% of each other, right? And it's
What do you
kind of
mean?
like or like yeah, they're 80% or like 90% of like the same decision making, if that makes sense.
No, I disagree entirely.
You disagree entirely? Okay,
Yes,
what would you
because
say
based on
like
rotations, right? Because remember what we talked about, and I don't want to go in it on stream because like that was the session,
yeah.
but like that, they're not doing that with teammates in threes the whole time. They're fitting into where it compensates. And what's nice about that, by the way, Drift, is that if you have a player who can't handle pressure in the highest level of the game, and that's your team to deal with, then the better you can compensate for that factor, the easier it is for you to clutch the win. And so you take it up as less random chance to lose a game because you're able to carry one way or another. That's why that adaptability factor is so crucial and vital.
Okay. All right. I'll start looking at more and like finding more ranked pro VOD of you to do. All right, you've convinced me. You sold me.
Look, man, I'm not saying that like I know it all kind of thing, but I am saying like give it a shot, see where it leads you, and maybe you'll see something better. Because in my experience, I've seen people grow from that, even though they've tried the way that you're doing it.
Okay. All right. Wait, was there anything else on that sort of what's it called? It's like it was early in the conversation. It was like that Goku like going 100%, I suppose, and like most pros are
Well,
going
it's
at like
just the
50,
argument of like
60%.
trying to marginalize everything, like trying to capture the margins of your improvement.
So you're saying that from like trying to be as efficient as possible, or is saying like you're
Well,
using
there's a
something that's
difference. Okay,
inefficient?
so there's a difference between efficiency and effectiveness. And right now you're lacking effectiveness because you're focusing on efficiency.
Okay, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. I think that like thinking about it, I'm more like thinking about like the technical side is like what should I do in my routine, and then a
Mhm.
lot of the time I'm not really focused on like how not
Right.
how my brain process it, but like how will I actually like
So
feasibly
let's
learn
think
everything.
about right. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but let's think about like football, hockey, soccer, basketball, all things of that nature, right?
Yeah.
What you're doing right now, Drift, is taking the human aspect of sports out of the game. And in doing so, is like trying to make yourself like an AI. Humans make errors all the time. And the more you're able to process your ability to be in flow state during that time frame, like when you're actually like in the zone, right?
Hmm.
Then once you're up there and like you don't have as much forgiveness for making mistakes, then you can hone your craft. But until then, you don't have the content that you're playing at to even try and get rid of all the mistakes. That's not possible. And so you're going for something that is like grinding at something that doesn't exist. You got to get better content that you're facing. And to get better content that you're facing, you have to go up in rank. And to go up in rank, you have to know how to carry. And then eventually be a team player.
That makes sense. I think in the past I was like, okay, so if like Rise or like if a pro, pretty much any pro, even the worst pro I could think of, if Rapid was, wait, no,
Yeah, Rapid's actually not
no,
that
yeah, he's
bad,
not
but I
though. He's
get
not
your
that
point.
bad. He's not bad. I'm just kidding. What's it called? If Rapid was in rank B, he wouldn't be in rank B. He would just get out pretty quickly, or it feels like that's what would
Right.
happen, kind of.
Yep.
Um,
100%.
yeah. So I guess in my head it was like, okay, as long as I get good, develop this basically pro play style, even if it's not a carry. I think I was like very intentionally. I don't want to develop like a carry in rank B play style. I want to head straight towards that pro play style.
Right, but you can't.
Without like facing the right people, right? You just
Content,
can't.
yeah.
Okay.
Content is everything. Because like this is why you hear players say like I can't take this game seriously because I'm not trying. Right? How many times have you heard players who were like stupidly good getting into lesser lobbies and then being like there's no way I can take this seriously, right? If a pro hopped into B rank lobby, do you think he can take it at the same level as a pro lobby? No, he's gonna have to slow down. He's gonna have to have patience. He's gonna have to adapt around his team. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. All right. So
All right,
where did
I'm
we
gonna
start
leave you
out?
to it.
Or where did we start out and then where did we finish? I think you
You
came in.
have the VOD.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks,
All right,
Salty.
man.
All right.
Yeah, no problem. I'll see you later. Good
Yes.
luck.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. So you're gonna work on processing that later. Right now, I'm gonna go on break. Go eat. First meal of the day. All right. Oh no, Aldi said he's been up since. Oh no. Okay. You just didn't go to bed. Oh no. Okay. Gonna be on break for 35 because that's usually how long it takes for me to eat and then cook. And then I think I'll go through with process right now for today, and then I'll kind of like towards the end of the day, I'll kind of like reassess where basically where I want to weight my time towards. Um, let me think. Let me think. Let me think. Alti. What's it called? It's a new segment called Advice with Alti. All right. That's quickly becoming a regular. All right. I'll have to build that. All right. Yeah. I'll be back in 35. Gotta take a break. With great work comes recovery. All right. Though I don't think I put up like I didn't put up the greatest numbers, but I got through it. All right. Bow. Boom. Also, how far? Let's track this. How far away am I from demotion right now? It's still. I don't like the fact that I'm still like. I could demote, right? Not that it's going to. It's not going to happen, but like I don't like the idea that I could. All right. Okay. I'm gonna go eat. Be right back. Hey yo, Ian, it's going chill.